Well, good morning, Grit Theory. I hope you're ready for this one. I'm kind of afraid to record right now, John, because when you get all amped up and you just let it fly. I mean, with wisdom, we don't just like say whatever, but when you're fired up, things start coming out, and I think this episode's going to be a little grittier than the typical fare that we have. John, you and I had a discussion the other day, has been culminating, with texts and videos and pieces like, oh, what about this? What about this? And we just have to share it. So I'm going to pitch it over to you. What are we talking about today?
Goodness, I wish we knew. I knew. I so wish we knew. Before we jump in, if you don't mind, one thing that I think we owe to ourselves and those who have been faithful and listening with us over the last couple months is, hey, the show's not free, right? You and I work hard on it. We sacrifice a lot of time into it.
Agreed.
But we're doing it free of cost, and we only support, give shout-outs to those we love. So if you get any encouragement from our conversations, if you get any motivation from any of them, please pay it forward,
Yep.
right?
Agreed.
Share it, pay it forward.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. Yeah, and I think anytime you get something good, you're really just being selfish if you're keeping it to yourself anyway. So that really helps us out, but also it helps. And the mission of what we're doing is that we're trying to allow other people to be included in this conversation, so not just so they could hear it, but also they can grow from it. So share,
absolutely.
pay it forward. Someone will thank you for sharing it. Okay, so let me just frame it this way. So we have what we're really talking about today is less topical and more of attacking sort of a symptom that we've seen in this sort of unrest. When you have unrest in your heart, it's because it's pointing to something you need to pay attention to. And you can ignore it if you want, but it's gonna manifest itself. It's gonna be heard, and we find all kinds of distractions to try to keep that unrest at bay. But at some point, you got to stop, turn around, and look at your pursuer, and say, okay, what do you want? What do you want? What do I need to be paying my mind's eyes attention to right now? And it's good. It's like an agitation. It's a discomfort that allows you to start looking at the thing. Yeah. And so you've been in kind of a week of unrest.
Man, I've been in a lifetime of unrest. Seriously though, but it's been coming to a head.
Yeah,
more and more.
And
right. Earlier this week, I threw something out on the Insta of Graham, where I just was like, "Hey,
you're so hip." I love when you say things like that.
That's what it's called, right? It's hygiene.
Don't fact check that.
All right, I'm going to stop tiptoeing. I'm just going to jump in, and we'll see where this goes. It's an exploration, right? God, I wish it was pre-scripted because it'd be easy to read, but I don't really know where we're going to go. But there's some things I'm not going to be quiet on anymore. And that's the bottom line. And we talked before because I was like, hey, buddy, I want to make sure that you know where I want to go on this and you're not blindsided. And you're like, let's freaking go. So here we are, right? The bottom line is, and I think the real heart of it, the core of it is our neighbor is not our enemy, bottom line. And right now we live in a time where everywhere you look, we're being told that we should hate our neighbor. Right? That our fellow countryman is the problem, right? Whether it's the Antifa garbage, whether it's the left versus right versus race versus, whatever your sexual preference is, all the, vaccinated, unvaccinated, all these things are being used to sow dissension and division and hate amongst our communities, right? And it's even tearing homes apart. And it's a lie. A lot of these things can be important, but it's not the core things that we need to focus on. And, the bottom line is our neighbor is our friend, right? United, we can stand. Our country's been based off of unity since its creation, and that is where the Constitution and the Bill of Rights comes in, right? They've not been perfectly played out, but the gift of them and the foundation of the land that we live in is the ability to pursue the fulfillment of what that foundation is allowing us.
Yeah.
right? And it's a privilege to be able to sit and have a conversation like this and to fight and to risk offending some people to speak the truth in the pursuit of good.
Agreed.
And, so I'm so tired of the division that I desperately desire to live my life in such a way that that I am a force for unity, for truth, for freedom, and for strength.
Yes.
Right.
Agreed. I think a lot of what we've been talking about is the narratives right now have really been focusing on the negative, like what we don't want or what we hate or what we think is an enemy of society, but people aren't really talking about what is good. Like, what are we pursuing?
Yeah.
That I think is the conversation that really needs to happen. And these endless debates, and I listen to them because I really, honestly, I really want to understand. Like, if I seem to be leaning on one side of the issue, then I'll listen to the other side because I just be like, people believe what they. I mean, I'd like to think that people honestly believe if they're going to be so emphatic about it. Okay, and even if it's a lie, they're believing that lie completely. But I don't hear, okay, I get it. You're mad about this. And when people are mad about something, don't you kind of tune out? Like I heard a joke once that bumper stickers are the worst way to make friends. You know, like, do you ever listen or read a bumper sticker and go, wow, that's someone I'd like to hang out with? Like, that doesn't never ever happens, because really they tend to be like, here's my opinion and it's greater than yours. And it's typically negative. Like, the stuff that I want to hear is, hey, I'm fighting for a strong family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting for a country that's unified again, that pursues the same ideals, that wants high moral good, that demands more of itself. It wants to grow in its mind and its heart and its creativity to serve man, like a pursuit, a daily pursuit that's about others, not self. These things, I think, can temper all the negative things that we're saying. Because when we start getting into the weeds about preference, then what we're talking about is my personal ideals are more important than those of the whole. And that's what really concerns me right now in our nation.
Yeah, what I think it is born from is, as human beings, we need an ideal to pursue, period.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look at the history of, like, our country as an example, it started with us fighting for independence, then fighting to coast to coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the world wars. And like, if you look at all the things, it's like, oh, we were so united. It's because we, as a nation, were fighting an enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was the frontier or, World War II or what have you. And that has served as an ideal for us nationally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I think the mistake is, and I've fallen to this, is we're so starving for an ideal to pursue that we're willing to allow silly things to become our ideal that we're willing to fight over,
Right.
opposed to something that's valuable enough to actually spend our energy on, right? Like, great example is if you're or a Ford or Chevy person or a Coke or Pepsi person, you allow that to become part of identity, you're reaching for something, right? More than that can give it to you. And that's what we're seeing with all these little points of division. They're distractions that are keeping us from being able to actually focus on what is good.
Yep.
Right. And I've thought a lot about, why in the heck am I going to war with myself every single day?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yep.
Why can't I just work my day job, enjoy my family, enjoy the animals, and rest? No, it's because I feel like I've been preparing and trying to get ready for a situation that I didn't know would ever present itself. But that's what it was. It's like, because all these people, like, if you're a professional athlete, you're preparing for your sport. If you own a business, you're running your business, right? And I've been throwing myself in the forge, as we call it, upping the temperature, trying to get rid of the crappy parts of myself, trying to strengthen, that which is of good character and integrity within myself, become more mentally tough, physically capable. For what? And all I've been able to say is for preparation, for an opportunity that I can't see yet, and to potentially be a better example for my sons.
Mm-hmm.
And, frankly, I've lived a life in the shadows feigning boldness in compartmentalized ways. And, like starting young.
So being bold, like choosing what you're bold in.
Choosing what I'm bold and selective, right?
Yeah.
Like trying to be very socially aware, emotionally intelligent. I mean, my parents got divorced when I was young. I moved between houses 3 times a week, then every week, right? So there's a John with dad at dad's house, right? There's a John at the mom's house, at the school, at church. And as life went on, right, then there's Army John. Then there is home John, and there's single John. There's all these freaking different versions of myself, and I'm the same person. I'm not having split personalities. But I knew always felt like I'm looking through different masks. And over time, I'm realizing I'm burning the masks. I'm getting rid of the things because I learned that helped me to survive and get what I want.
Yep.
But it was killing me. And that's kind of where these things have come to head because I finally came to the point of like, what is the ideal I'm truly pursuing?
Yeah.
Why do I care so desperately that on my deathbed, I can be the most evolved, high-performing version of myself?
Yep.
And I realized I have to become the best version, the greatest version of myself, because it is the least I can do for the free gift I've been given of salvation through my King.
Agreed. Yep.
And that's the bottom line. And if I don't pursue that, it's from a heart of gratitude. I can't pay back the gift I've been given, But if I don't pursue that, I'm falling short of the potential of daily dying to myself so that I can live in my King.
Yes, that's so good. That's I think a rare pursuit right now. And we should temper this by saying this is extremely difficult. This isn't something like we're saying like, oh yeah, you should just die to yourself. Like this is like you looking at something that doesn't want to leave, and it's kicking and screaming, and you're in a hell trying to let it go. And most people just go, you know what? I don't want to be in hell.
Yep.
I'm just going to keep this demon in my life. And this is why I think when people start talking about another way, an alternative to it, there's so much combativeness. Like our society is not used to self-beating themselves up. Like if we would just start looking in the mirror and going, you are not showing up. You're not doing what you need to do. Like, I'm a little pissed off at you right now. To you, not other people. I mean, imagine that if we just look at ourselves, we get more angry at ourselves than we do at others.
Yeah.
And we start really pushing that, then maybe when someone says something to me, it's actually familiar. And it's actually a friend. Like, yeah, you know what? I've been saying the same thing to myself. Or I've said something different and I didn't see that side of it, but I appreciate when I look at something that needs to die. And that's, I think, what we're missing right now.
Well, and that's a problem when you don't have an ideal, right? You can be self-indignant, When you're pursuing something greater than yourself, that's what I mean by ideal. And when I say king, like earlier, I'm a Christian, so my king is Jesus, right? And I just want to be clear.
Yep.
And me saying that, by the way, terrifies me. It terrifies me to say that. I had to make the decision before we record this episode that if I was going to step in to the fullness of what I think we need to do with this show and to be able to encourage others to fully look in the mirror and begin pursuing a better version of themselves and to begin to pursue something greater than themselves, frankly, wherever the heck they find that I had to be true and speak the truth of what is driving me.
Yeah.
And part of that decision was the realization that some people I dearly love, the reason it scares me is because I'm afraid I'm going to lose them. That I'm going to say this and they're going to be like, peace out.
Yeah.
And I realized if that's the response, then I have to be okay with that. Right? Because I have to be true to who I am. And that's part of the sacrifice that comes back to the difficulty of when you pursue something bigger than yourself. What makes it uncomfortable is you have to sacrifice. You have to give up parts of who you want to be or what you're comfortable being. You have to give up circumstances. You have to give up relationships as you're pursuing a better version of yourself. Like, let's say you hang out with a party crowd and you like to drink and stuff, and I get it, right? And but over time, like, you're overweight and you want to change that. You want to start to improve your circumstances. You're getting serious with your girlfriend, right?
You don't want to have a fuzzy head all the time.
No.
You want to start getting sharp.
You're like, maybe I don't want to, I want to build my career, be able to maybe think about marrying this girl, whatever, right? over time, as you evolve, you're hitting the gym, you're starting to apply discipline in your life, you're starting to improve your career, you may find that it's harder to go and party every night with your friends. In fact, you will find it's harder to do that. And that's going to become a point of tension. At some point, you're giving up a lifestyle, and unfortunately, you're often giving up the people who are going to continue in that lifestyle to push forward into the next version of yourself, which is better for you and those around you, you know?
Well, and you even saying like you're pursuing an ideal, like you say, I'm a Christian. Already, people are saying, "Oh, I'm comfortable with that," and they're tuning it out. But what I would challenge people to say, if you say anything like that, "I'm a whatever," then I would push back with, "Well, what is your ideal then?" Because what I'm kind of tired is of people being vague. They're so quick on like attacking. Oh, I don't like this and this and this, and they're like, okay, well, what do you stand for? Well, hold on, that's a little personal. Like, you know what? If you say stuff like that, then don't even say anything about what you're against. You got to know what you're for. If I know what you're for, then we can have a conversation.
Well, what's wonderful, and you said this when we were talking earlier this week, is you can't speak against something if you don't define what you're for, right? You have to stand for something to speak against something. That's a critical missing function in a lot of what we're seeing in the division and lies that are going around us. And, you know, the grit theory is here to be an inspiration, an encouragement of bettering yourself in the pursuit of an ideal, to face the hard things, to take ownership of your life, and to muster up the ugly, hard grit that it takes to do those things, right? Because it's not easy, but man, the reward is so fun. You know, when it's so worth it to look back on a year of improving yourself versus a year of waste.
Yes.
And that's why we're here, and we've evolved in that, right? We've talked, and this will not become. I don't see you and I ever making this a political platform, a pulpit to preach from, or any of that. This is just our ability to pursue better versions of ourselves and share that encouragement in the fight, right? Because it's a journey, and I think that's what makes this attractive. But like, it has to be based on why the heck are we doing this?
Yeah.
Because we believe it's what we're called to do. We believe that it's the least we can do for the gift we've been given.
Yep.
Goodness sake. And the other thing that's terrifying to me, man, is one, saying the things we've said today, whoa. But you know what? It feels good. It feels good because I don't feel like I'm hiding anymore. It's like, hey, here I am. And then if it offends you, I'm sorry, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem.
Right.
Because I've not done anything offensive.
Yeah.
I've exercised my right in this nation to be me and to pursue something better than myself at the benefit to love those around me.
Offensive is subject to the person anyway. So it's like you can't even define it anymore. It's like, oh, that's offensive. Like, you know what? I'm not going to chase that. You know, it's like it's chasing the wind to me. And if we offend people, then you offend people. Now, are we trying to offend people? No. But we are trying to say what is true, and that does offend people. And I remember there's a famous clip out there with Jordan Peterson. He's interviewing this lady from BBC, and she said, "Why is it that why is your opinion more important than my being offended by that opinion
or my comfort?" I can't remember what she said.
She was something like this, and he said, "Brilliant." I thought sometimes you have to risk offense in saying what is true, which. And then he turns around and goes, "What you just said to me, that was actually pretty uncomfortable, and I didn't really like that. What gives you the right to say that?" You know, which she was silent. And this is kind of the back and forth, right?
Well, the truth of it is, it's uncomfortable for both sides.
Yes.
I'm uncomfortable right now.
Yes.
But I'm so grateful because this is a step that I've needed to take for a long time. You know, a house divided cannot stand. How much more can a person divided? Right? And that's some of the symbolism of today. It's like, you know what? When I look around, there's scary things happening in the world right now. There's scary things happening politically. There's scary things happening geopolitically, nationally, on every level. It's like, oh dear, right? And I realized I've been really struggling with what can I do to help be a force for good, period. Because I don't want my sons to inherit a mess of problems from me, right? Or from my generation, or from our generations of those who are walking the earth as adults right now. I don't want that to happen. The buck's going to stop here with me, right? If they have to engage in trying to make things better because we've screwed it up, I made the decision this week definitively that they will be joining me in the fight or I will be dead. It will not be they will pick up the tools to fix things that I've neglected.
Agreed.
Out of fear of offending someone, or out of fear of discomfort, out of fear of cost to myself. No, the buck stops with me.
I love it. If this were like, if we were thinking, I'm thinking of like these old Civil War movies, and there's waves of soldiers that are going in, right, in uniform, carrying their banner, their flag, their banner. And so, and I love that picture of carrying the flag, because that flag represents, this is what we're fighting for. This is the ideal. We're not fighting because we like to kill people. We're not fighting because we like war. It's an awful, awful thing. But this ideal is more important than my life, even. And if we lay that down, or we let other people lay it down, and we look back to the row behind us, say, hey, you know what? This is you. And I feel like as a father, that's kind of what we're doing to our kids. Even, if we don't first run into the battle and see how much territory we could take, like, hey, and then at the end of our life on our deathbed, son, I got you this far. It's your turn now, and I think you're going to go farther than me. But let's give them a fighting chance.
Well, that's the goal, right? And there's three things I'm going to try and rapid fire. One, you mentioned Jordan Peterson earlier. He's been asked, do you believe in God? Because a lot of the things he says leads you to think, and maybe this guy does. And his response strikes me, and I've taken it very seriously. He's like, I am too scared of the implications of what it would mean to say I believe in God, to say I believe in God. And, hopefully his courage grows daily. But I know I've taken that seriously. And the reason I've not been ready to own who I'm becoming and who I am, because I've been too hypocritical, too torn asunder, too not true to what I'm to pursuing this ideal, to be able to say that and look with boldness in someone's eyes and say, hey, that's my pursuit. And here's the thing, it's a pursuit. I am still an incredibly broken, inconsistent, subpar human being, So it's like, I've not arrived, man. And like today, probably I'm going to screw something up and just make a fool of myself. But that's part of the journey. And you know what? Like, when I screw up, I'm going to get back up and pursue the same goals I'm pursuing, especially with more boldness now, because I'm one dude,
You're not a child anymore. A child doesn't ride a bike for fear of falling off the bike.
Correct.
And that's just part of the process as an adult.
Yep.
Like, you need to push past that. What if it hurts? You're going to learn. You're going to get stronger. And eventually you're going to see that you can accomplish things.
I've also become my own worst boss, so I'm not really scared. Yeah, I quoted you on that. But I'm not really scared of what other people's critiques are going to be of me, because there's nothing someone can do to me that is worse than what I do to myself.
That's good.
Trust me. There's things I do not share that I do to myself.
But if you want to start your own business, get ready to work for the worst boss the hardest boss you ever have, or you're going to go broke.
Yeah, the conversations I have with myself in the run that I do not record are like, but I'm worried that there's some poor family that I run by their house in the country here, and they just hear me yelling and cursing at myself and ripping my hair out and stuff. They're like, "Geez, that guy's psycho." And but no, I'm negotiating the brass tacks, and I want to be very clear in a statement I made earlier. I said I had to be willing to let go of certain friends should I lose them. That's the worst case scenario. I love the people I'm afraid to lose deeply. And that's never going to change. So any loss that happens will not be because of me.
Well, you also have to know that you're doing it. They have to know that you're doing it to yourself. Like, if I have something I've become friendly in my own life, that can die too, or at least be pushed to the side if it's in the way of my mission. So it's just part of the thinking process in order to accomplish what you got to.
It is, and I just wanted to be clear on that, because
noble pursuits. This isn't selfish things. You're not.
Well, for me, it's my faith.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm genuinely afraid by saying today, like, hey, I'm a Christian, that I have friends that are very dear to me that I'll lose, and I realized, like, well, to talk about hypocritical, right? That's a problem. And I had to come to the place where it's like, are you going to pursue this thing bigger than yourself enough that you're willing to lose anything for it?
Yeah.
And I'm, for the first time in my life, saying, yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it takes, here I am, send me. I'm going to do this. And do I want to lose people? Heck no. Do I want to continue to walk with them as my brothers, right? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yes,
And
that's right.
the ball's in their court on that, right? Because this is who I am. And if you're cool with that, party on. Let's push in. Let's keep going together. Let's keep living life together.
That is such a great way to tackle your mission. Like, we use the gym analogy often, but what if every coach, and I think they do on some level, like someone comes in, no matter where they're at, maybe they've never even stepped in pursuit of something in their entire life. Really, that was hard. And there's just two questions. So I want to know what your ideal is. What are you fighting for? And then what are you willing to give up to get to it? Mm-hmm. That's it. It's simple.
Well, man, I'm throwing the glove today. That's an old metaphor for like establishing a duel. I'm starting a war. And the war that I'm waging with my life is against division, victimhood, lies, and despair.
Yes.
I'm not, that shadow's not going to come to this house. and I want to encourage others to pick up in that fight. Hey, if it's a lie, if it's divisive, if it inspires a victimhood mentality that robs you of your personal ownership and free agency and freedom, no. We have to say that those things are not good, period.
We have to be friends that are comfortable with, or not, I shouldn't say comfortable, but are ready to say those things.
Yeah.
Because if you say to me, everyone hates me and nobody likes me, it's like, that's a lie. It's a lie. Stop.
Yep.
You know, and that's what good friends do. When despair is a temporary thing, it won't last forever. If you think it's going to last forever, then get a friend that will remind you otherwise. You know, we are too quick to think that things are permanent that aren't, and things that and we're also too quick to not believe that things can be permanent. They can become part of your life.
That seem fleeting.
Yes.
And it goes straight back to the mistaking what's non-essential for essential.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Like CNN just came out. This example is hilarious to me. Like I don't comprehend it. And they were like, there's a debate apparently right now between like chest feeding and breastfeeding.
I've heard it.
And I don't even know the genesis behind it. Like I don't understand the base of it or anything. What the first thought that came to my mind when I heard that that's a thing is, how is it even possible for us to care about that with what's going on around us?
Agreed.
And I was on a run the other day thinking, because unfortunately that's what I do, and it puts me in uncomfortable situations. But I was thinking, and I was listening to this podcast, and they're calling out like, hey, we need people to speak up, right? Because I've been challenged. I've been really fighting with this idea of like, what can I do? Right? I don't want to speak politics. Like, I don't want to give an opinion podcast, right? Or conversation or lifestyle. I don't want to be I'm not a preacher. I'm not a religious person at all, which is an interesting statement based on everything I said. But it's true in line with my faith, right? Like, I don't like trappings of large organizations that can lead to corruption, right? And one of the reasons, you know, I've been so scared to come out with these things is because I've been too broken to even claim that I'm in the pursuit of something bigger, right? But I kind of got stirred up a little bit because part of the conversation on this podcast as I'm running is like, hey, we need, like, everyone needs to speak up, you know, in whatever avenue they can. And I'm sitting there running, you know, I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to get into a position I can speak up, right? I need to speak up. And then it kind of hit me like a freight train. I was like, you idiot. You have a podcast. You're building a business. You're doing stupid things on social media. Why the heck aren't you just saying the truth there and potentially encouraging some of those who are listening anyways? And by the way, also putting yourself to that standard of conviction so that you do not have an out. That's something.
Right.
And I was like, all right, here we go. And I called you, poor guy. You get a call, and I'm like, hey, mother, beep, beep, beep. Answer the phone, beep, beep. And you call me back.
Oh, John's fired up again. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, what goes through your mind when you get a call like that, by the way?
I think, it's, would you have, when you have a friend that you know well enough, you just know where that's coming from. It's like if you're amped up about something, or either in like a passionate positive way, or something negative's going on, you just kind of read it. You just kind of go, oh yeah, this is like, you temper that. It's not like offensive to me because I know who you are. And so I was like, all right, let's I think he needs someone to talk to, otherwise this is gonna be this is gonna fester a bit. So water is good as long as it keeps pouring. When it stays in the same place, it tends to become septic, so we gotta
it's like fire in a fireplace is good. When it starts burning the whole house up, it's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Let's put direction to this, right?
Yeah, let's do direction. Thanks for answering that question. I've wondered, because if you don't know, you don't know. But I can call and be like, hey, I want you to have a great day. I hope you're encouraged today. Have peace. And then 5 minutes later, you may get another call from me. Where I'm like, hey, mother. And you're like, what just happened? Right? Welcome to the inside view. But it's wildness, man. And, if we're waging war against division, right?
Yeah.
Then why? What do we want to accomplish? We want to inspire hope.
Right.
We want to inspire grit, right?
Yep.
And by grit, we really mean character and integrity enough to do hard things.
Yes.
Like have conversations like this.
Yes. That's right.
To be able to look at something and say it's not good is a very uncomfortable thing. And it takes strength to do it. If you take the seriousness of that action into account, right? It's easy to sit back and just be judgmental and mouth off as a theorist. Right? Oh, I'm comfortable on my couch hiding behind the screen, right? But to actually put things into action, to become a practitioner, right? Good old Goggins loves that difference, the theorist versus the practitioner, and he likes making fun of theorists. Well, it's for a reason, man. Like, if you write 7 books but don't do anything, like, you thought about a lot, but you don't know. You know a lot about it, but you don't know anything about it, because the second you start experiencing something, it changes the entire thing. You see that a lot in great example. This last week, sent my wife to take care of her grandfather, who's very, very ill in the hospital, fighting for his life, right? And she's there, and she's doing like 24, 48-hour shifts with her father, right? His son, with her uncle, with her stepmom. They're doing these shifts, and what they found is, because they're doing shifts and going through the night with him, he's recovering. He's not stressing out and flatlining at night and stuff, and he's slowly getting healthier. And but what's so interesting is the clarity of the person in the room versus the encouragement they're getting. Even from the people who are in the room the next day or the day before, it's disjointed, right? Like, the person in the room sees the suffering and is working to mediate the suffering and help do the things that are required to make the person healthier. The person out of the room, without seeing the suffering, immediately forgets the suffering in line for what the ideal best case would be to fix something. And they're like, no, continue doing that because it gives him a better chance of survival. And it's like, yeah, but he's exhausted and suffering and needs rest for some time.
Yes.
And we have to remind ourselves, like, hey, we're not always going to be on the front lines of difficulty, but when we're walking along with someone who is, trust their insight for being on the ground and try to give encouragement while speaking to the fact that, like, hey, you see the problems firsthand. I'm from a distance, so I trust your discernment because you see the whole picture. I just want to provide some further clarity and encouragement to you.
It's the difference between having a dynamic response to pain versus a static one.
Yeah.
That's poor leadership. I mean, anyone can do that leadership thing, like do this, A dynamic leader looks at it and assesses who's in it with the person and goes, this is okay, this is nuanced. Like, yes, they need this, but this is how we're going to handle it. Or And that takes empathy, that takes time, and that's what a true friend does.
Yeah.
They're in it.
Well, in the Army, so I was an officer, and when you're going through all the leadership schools, they remind you a lot, and then you forget so quickly. I mean, that's just human nature, right? You forget the things you learn. But don't lose the boots on the ground perspective, right, is the idea. You're going to have, in any conflict, you're going to have a front line, right, where people are fighting. And if you're removed from that front line, you're not getting the whole picture. So if you lose the context, you're going to and you're not taking into account appropriately the reports you're getting from your leaders who are seeing the front line, you're going to make decisions that are foolish. That sounds so good in whatever comfortable little cell comparatively you're in. And that's where it's like looking at this stuff, right?
Yes.
I heard that call to, hey, everyone needs to speak up, right? It's not time to be quiet anymore. And
you've never earned the right to step away from it and just tell other people what it's like to go through it, you know? And I think there's a great story. I remember in Can't Hurt Me, Goggins talks about the guys who've gone through the BUDS training, and they come in their white class C's or whatever you call them. They come in and they're able to punish them a little bit more and have a little more fun with them.
Yeah.
And Goggins tells a story. And remember this? He goes into the water with them, like fully dressed.
Yeah.
With them, and does the exercise with them. And I was like, what a great leadership! Like, he won the hearts of every single man there when he did that. It's like, well, I will do this with you.
Yeah, and what I love about that story too is he's like, no one can make things harder on me than I'm going to make them on myself.
Right.
Which there's power to that, right? We do have that ownership, and you know,
Yes.
the kind of frontline thing I was thinking about here is like, it's so easy to be critical and make stupid decisions from the comfort of your couch, looking on your phone, through social media, making stupid comments, right?
Yep.
Right now, I'm looking into a camera. I'm putting myself out there.
Right.
Right? This is the closest I can to getting in front of people. And I'm showing who I am. Right? That takes a different level of courage than trolling on the internet. And I would say that this is the first step to saying, I want to understand the things firsthand that are going on right now. You have all these people who are fighting for unity and fighting for division.
Yep.
And I'm going to fight for unity, man.
All day.
And instead of commenting and thinking about it and theorizing about it, like, here we are.
Division is easy, man. If you're a divisive person, that's the easy route.
It
It's
is.
easy to react. It's easy to get angry.
It's so self-gratifying too. It's sickening.
It's and instantly so. Like and also it's just like just think about the laziest thing your mind can do, and that's where division will go.
Yeah.
Unity, though, is the highest level of strength and integrity, and going into realizing, okay, I'm going to have really hard conversations that I don't want to have. I'm going to have to teach myself things I've never learned. I'm going to have to grow in ways that I didn't think possible, which, by the way, they are. If you're fighting for ideals, it's amazing what you can accomplish. But I will tell you, it's very difficult.
And to the difficulty thing, right? I've been starving to be able to walk boldly against an adversity, right? In hope and encouragement, right? And be able to pursue that growth. And I've realized to struggle is proof that you've not been overran and defeated, right? It's like a drowning man is not dead until he's breathed his final breath. He's still struggling. He's still alive. There's still fight there. And I realized I've been playing life so safe. I'm sitting here trying to up the temperature in the forge, make things harder myself, cut out things that are comfortable, get my body in better shape, make my mind tougher, doing all these things. And I'm like, why? Well, the preparation thing. But also I came to the realization this week, and even right now talking, it's like, I've been preparing because I've been playing it safe. And frankly, with this conversation, I said, screw that. Like, pull off the thing. If adversity comes, then I'm just being trusted to face the adversity. And I'm equipped to handle it. And if I'm not equipped, I'm going to grow in that moment and figure it out. And step by step, we will build this house, and we will secure the future we want our children to walk into.
Yeah.
We both have 4 kids.
Yep.
I'm not going to have my sons fight a fight that I should have fought. They're going to have their own battle, right? They're going to have their own things they have to do in life, but they will never have to put their hand to something I should have.
That's right.
Because, and that's my declaration, right? That's what I owe to them, right? and that's my promise to them, right? I could get schwacked on a car on my run tomorrow, or like drop a weight on my head and die in the morning or whatever. And at least they'll hear this is my intent. This is my goal. This is what I'm striving to do for them. And the other thing is, I'm raising young men, right? I happen to have just 4 sons. Not just, but I happen to have 4 sons. I've not been blessed with a daughter. So my goal in life is to raise these 4 young men to become, warrior philosophers who love greatly and who act boldly for what is good, right? What is right. Like, it's so funny because in their innocence of youth, they have no restraint. Like I'll put my elbows on the table at dinner. Dad, family rule, take your elbows off the table. Nice. It's like, yes, good. Nice. Yep. Hey, it's my rule. I'm going to listen to your reproof on it, right? And it's like, good. And someone like tripped. They started football last night, and someone kicked one of my sons, and they both lit on that kid like crazy. And I'm like, hey, here's the thing. And it was an intentional thing. It was funny, and it was a good teaching moment. But the thing is, like, if something's wrong, they have the courage to act immediately to correct it. If Lindsay and I are debating on something, and we start to raise our voice, they'll come in and yell at me not to yell at her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
That's decentralized command, as Jocko calls it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, well, that's what you want. I mean, ultimately, you're not raising kids; you're raising adults.
Yep.
And adults don't need to go to ask another adult to do the right thing. If it's the right thing, do it.
And that's the courage I'm walking back into. I'm looking at them as an example of like, oh man, I haven't screwed it up enough. I'm seeing what I need to be in my kids. Right? They have the courage to see something wrong and act.
Right.
And I've had the courage to see something wrong and think about it.
Dude,
what a reproof, right? What a rebuke.
This is me too. I'll say that. Like, have a suspicion. Yeah, I should probably start whatever task I need to do. And I'm like, I should go read a book about it. Exactly. No. And that book was pretty good. I should read another book about it and another book about it. About something is right.
It's like
am I striking any nerves here?
But it's the problem that I'm putting to death today, right? This is the start of a journey, man.
Right.
Like this is the turning point. We just turned a new thing on.
Right.
And that is like, hey, is it good to read? Heck yeah. Is it good to sharpen your mind and take in these things? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you don't need 7 books to tell you something's right. You know it immediately, and you're just stalling.
Right.
The uncomfortable, correct decision.
Agreed.
I'm speaking to myself.
Agreed. Me too. I'm saying the same thing. Yeah. I read books on how to be more disciplined. Like, you could just start do disciplined things. Like, you don't have to be a Navy SEAL. It's funny, we go all the way to the end. Like, let's see what Navy SEAls do when I can't even get up at the right time, or go to bed at the right time. It's like,
you want more discipline? Start doing things that require discipline. Exactly. Like, wake up at the same time every day, okay? And make your bed every day.
Show up at work.
Love
your wife well.
Yeah. Well, now you're getting complex.
Oh. All right, that's a little far. I'm going to read a book about it.
No, it's not far. It's like, but now that's getting harder, right? Because it's waking up is one thing.
More weight.
Taking on the mantle of leadership to love even when you're angry, that's harder, right? But if you don't have discipline, good luck. So
does hard mean you don't do it? Nah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I like this gritty episode, man. I like this. Like, let's be thinking about how to push into that harder. Like those difficult thoughts we're having.
When I left the service, one of my leaders who I respected a lot, he was angry with me for leaving, and I ran into him one day, and he's like, "John, just don't waste. You have a gift for leadership and for working with people. Don't waste it when you get out.
Good word. He's right.
He said, don't waste it in whatever capacity. Figure out how to continue leading. And I have ran from that mantle of leadership, and I don't know what it looks like, and I don't think it's super special. But today and every day forward, I'm embracing fully the weight of that mantle of leadership and whatever that's going to mean. And for now, that's continue to work to better myself, to be a good friend to you, the man that my wife and family needs. And day by day, we'll fight forward.